Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of IBL on Deck, sponsored by Rawlings. My name is Jackson Farough. Great to be with you again as we continue our team-by-team series here on IBL on Deck. Now, a couple weeks ago, last episode, we were able to chat with Ryan Harrison, the owner of the Welland Jackfish and noted fan of the show. Be sure to go check that episode out if you're a big Welland fan or really an IBL fan. We had a really fun chat. But we're going to continue our team-by-team series this week with the Hamilton Cardinals, one of the top teams in the IBL consistently over the last couple of years. A lot of hope right now with that franchise, and deservedly so. So let's talk with the GM of that very squad. It is Jeff Lounsbury. Jeff, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Jackson.
Now, we're going to get into specifics about the roster and the whole team and stuff, but just your whole gut feeling on how this offseason has gone for your club. Would you say it's a super positive, relatively positive, or maybe you're more neutral?
I guess I'm neutral. Going into what would have been last season, we were really riding a high wave, and I think we really had a team to fight for a championship. We really had some good momentum. Of course, the pause, and we're in good shape. Most of our players are returning. We just don't know what's going to happen with imports and some other things, and there's a lot of question marks still on that. But our nucleus, our core, is all returning, and I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, that's very good to hear. Now, the standard COVID question, I don't want to talk about COVID the whole time, but I got to ask you one. How has COVID changed the recruiting process for you?
It's made everything slower. Like, we have our imports ready to go. Kelvin's down in the Dominican. He's ready to come back. We have a couple more, but what do you say to them? Like, we don't know. We really don't know. So we're going to have to wait that out and check it out. In the meantime, I have to have backup plans and a lot more stokes in the fire, I guess, would be it, just to see what else is out there and be prepared. But we've done a good job, I think, in recruiting Canadian kids, and we look forward to having them here too.
So how has the job of recruiting and scouting kind of changed from, when you started, a long time ago, to where you kind of are now with things like YouTube and all the digital metrics and websites and tools and things like that? How has that process and that really job of the recruiting and scouting in baseball changed for you?
Yeah, I travel less. Back in the day when I was recruiting at Brock and running the university program, it was common for me to go to tournaments and watch kids and see kids. Now everyone has a video. I've been in baseball and over 25 years now, so I have a lot of connections. So a lot of emails, phone calls, people I trust. It takes one phone call to a couple coaches, and they're not going to lie to me. They're going to be upfront if a kid can play at this level or if he can't play at this level, and that goes a long way. That relationship building that I've had over the years.
Now, you talk about that relationship building. How does that happen over the years? Is that just about patience and just, building those connections and keeping up with them along the way? How do you know that you can trust, someone who's giving you the information on a specific player consistently?
Yeah, well, it's a reputation. I don't think you stay long in this game if you're BSing coaches. If all these guys that run these elite programs, they know that. They can't tell a college coach that he throws 92 and he shows up and he's throwing 78, 85 or, something like that. That stuff gets around, and actually any advice to any young coaches is don't pump the tires on your players so much. Be truthful and be honest, and that relationship will foster and grow when it's good. And when it's good, it's fantastic. It's I can make a phone call to a coach I haven't talked to in 5 years, and it's like yesterday, and we can catch up and talk ball players, and all of a sudden you got someone in your lap.
Right. Honesty is key for sure. In an interview last year, you mentioned how when you were with Brock in the late 90s, the players who came from U.S. schools would say, I had no idea it would be this good up here. What's your approach to recruiting players from south of the border?
Bringing the kids back from school, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so hard now with the NCAA guys. Like, the IBL's got three groups of players. You got the imports. We got Canadian guys that are done to college, and you got the college kids. The college kids have so many options with, collegiate leagues, and then other Canadian options too, out west and stuff like that. The best thing about playing in the IBL is you're going to play against an older player, and that's what I teach them. Like, yeah, you can go play against other 19-year-olds at a college league. out west and stuff like that. And it's fun and it's an experience. But here, you're going to face a guy that's older, been around, and you can't strike him out. Like, trying to strike out Ryan Spataro and some of these guys, you have to work, you have to think, you just can't throw fastballs by these guys. You have to, so you develop, I think, a lot and learn how to pitch. And I'll use Chris Lazar as an example of that. There's a kid that's learned how to pitch, and he's getting guys out, and he isn't throwing the ball by anybody. He has to hit his spots. He has to know what he's doing, set guys up, pitch backwards. Stefan Strecker, another great example, IBL, legend, and he played for me at Brock. And here's a guy that throw a changeup, throw another changeup, and throw another changeup, and guys were walking back to the dugout going, "How? Nothing. Everything moves, and I don't know where it is, and I can't time them." You'll learn that in the IBL. You just can't throw fastballs. That's the big eye opener for a lot of the college kids that come in here, thinking 89 straight is going to work, and it doesn't.
That's a great point. Building off that, when you coached in Hamilton in 98, 99, now you're back in it. Now, how has the league kind of changed from then, and then 20 some odd years to later till now?
Yeah, I give a ton of respect to the guys that play in this league, a ton of respect. These guys, they wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, go to work, and then drive from work and go to the ballpark, and they're at the ballpark and they don't get home till 11, 11:30, and then you got to do it all over again. And I did it as a coach, and it's hard, and it's for the love of the game, and that's why these guys do it, for the love of the game. The college kids are a little different. They still have goals and things that they want to do, and the imports are in it for another reason. But the guys, the lifeblood of this league is those guys that go to work and play, and the Sean Rileys and the Justin Gideons, who's a new wave guy. But it's changed because a lot of the older guys, the Spataros and Jeff Cowan, and I can go on and on and on, all the guys in Toronto over the years, they're slowly starting to finally hang them up. Raul Borjas, Jeremy Walker, guys that I know real well, the families, and it's hard. And I think as a league, it's changed that way. We don't have, going into this season and last season, I think we saw a change of the guard a little bit there. There were some guys that were finally looking up to hang them up. Kyle DeGrace was finally calling it quits. So I think there's a gap. And I don't know how many guys in this league got 6 years in, 5 years in this league. And that's, I think, a little bit of a generation gap that we have. And I don't know who the next group is going to be. I'm hoping the Hamilton's got those guys. I think the Jake Charavelli, Justin Gideon, who's going into his 5th year, he's considered a veteran now. He's still only 5 years in. Connor Bowie. I think that's how I wanted to build Hamilton, is to try to have these guys that love to play baseball, and they love to be in the dugout, and they love to be in the change room with the guys. And, you talk to the Barry guys, it's always that have won championships. It's all about that. That's what it's about. So
now, absolutely. Building off of that, in building up a program in the IBL compared to building up a program in the OUA with Brock, what are some of the similarities, but some of the differences between university ball, building up those programs, and then independent league?
Well, university, they're to get their education, so that's the number one thing here. Here, we have a fan base. We have ownership. You have fans. You have to account to those people. You have to put a product out for them to win. I think winning is a little bit more important than development. Where at the university level, I happen to, from Brock and Laurier, where I am now, I'm in winning programs, and it's a little different also with that. There's expectations with that, which is great. But in IBL, you have to answer to a fan base and an ownership, and you have to be accountable to that group, and you have to make sure you're doing your best to win.
Now,
but quite exciting product on the field too.
For sure. Now, talking about the exciting product on the field, let's get to it with this Cardinals roster. So you reached the semifinals and the playoffs in back-to-back years in 18 and 19. You run into Barrie and then Kitchener. How do those series losses factor into player personnel decisions for you? Do you remember specific moments in those series where you think, well, if we had maybe a player like this, we could have gotten over the hump? Do you think that's specific, or are you just trying to build the best possible roster year to year?
Well, starting that first year against Barrie, our franchise was almost gone. The Hamilton was almost extinct. So, first thing we want to do is build up back the product, and we did a great job in winning this playoff series that year for the first time in 15 years. So we had to start pretty early, but our goal was to make the veterans that were there happier and give them the support. And the ownership did that. The new ownership came in. We had imports for the first time in a long time. We got all 4 or 5 imports that we were allowed. And we gave them the tools to where they could succeed. Small changes in the change room and how we just did game-to-game stuff, and gave Coach Castelli, an assistant coach, a poor guy, had been working alone for a long time. We gave them tools, and then it just momentum started to go, and we started playing well, and the players started to buy in to what we were doing. So you look at pictures on the walk-off home run by Connor to beat London. Every guy's feet are 10 feet in the air. It's exciting. So Barry beat us hands down, better team. We learned a lot about that, I think. But we had a lot of Barry players come up and say, yeah, you got things going right here. You're doing things, you're going in the right direction, Jeff. And that meant a lot to me, because a lot of those guys I've known for a long time. And, they get Kyle and come up and say that and say, you're doing it right. So we knew we were on the right path. And then the next season, we had a great momentum going. We added to it. We brought guys back. Guys wanted to come back. Then we just made some, additions, and we won 20 games. We won 20 and 15. The team again hadn't won 20 games since '78, I think, since the championship team. Mm-hmm. So we're doing things right. In third place, we played really well against Guelph, and then I'm going to give Kitchener a lot of credit. Kitchener played its best baseball to beat us. They had to, and in games 1 and 2, both games were really close. In game 3 too, we had chances to win every one of those games, and we didn't. Give experience, I think, a little bit. I think that might have been it. Kitchener, they just made every play when they had to, and then they got every hit when they had to, and then game 4 we had nothing left. I felt so bad, and I was fighting cancer at that time, so I wasn't. I was going through a really rough time at that, and missed most of the playoff games. But I was following along, and I could just tell the guys were just, diving catches here, ball foul by an inch. It was really tough on them, and I really think if we would have played last year, we had it figured out roster wise.
Yeah, no, you talk a lot about that momentum, right? Now you were really starting to feel it. How do you now resume that momentum and get right back, kind of hit the ground running here in 2021?
Yeah, it's been tough on all of us, the whole league. All I could do is try to bring back all the vets and just say, hey, give it a shot. And 80% of them are ready to go. It's been hard. I don't know what to tell them. And even the college kids say, hey, come back home and play. And I'm not 100% sure we're going to be. I'm positive. I'm sure a June start, and I'm confident in that. So, but it's not like a normal year where you're 100%. And, you can, really be sure of everything. You really can't be. And I think we have to be a little more cautious about that. And I think we're going to start that way. I have enough guys. We have enough players. We'll start in June. We have the college kids coming back. And I think we're going to, around July, we'll probably reevaluate where we are then, and maybe make a push then, or do something, we'll find out where we are. And that's different than you normally start the season.
Now, last August, in an article up on the Cardinals website, you talked a lot about some of the principles in place now with the Cardinals are player-driven initiatives. Can you expand on that a little bit? I mean, it speaks to strong communication in the organization, for one, so credit to you and the rest of the management staff for that. But maybe can you give us specific examples, or just expand on the whole player-driven initiatives aspect?
Yeah, it's funny. It's so minor, but it's not. Swag. Having shorts and a shirt and a hoodie.
Yeah.
Having after a hot meal after a game and a cold beer. These are men. You know what I mean? These guys worked all day long. They played ball all day long. Is it that difficult to have a cold beer for them after a game and and have that moment? The change room. We bought new chairs, like really comfortable chairs with Cardinal logos. It's minor, but food and that kind of stuff. Some of the equipment, some of the bats that we were using was from the players. We asked what their opinion was and that kind of stuff. We're still asking. We can't do everything because we can't afford it, but we're trying.
Now, you mentioned a little bit ago the nucleus you have, and that you've been able to keep it together. But and newcomer Austin Gaume, infielder from the Terriers. Maybe just touch on a little bit, sort of, you mentioned he had pro potential in the press release. Can you expand on exactly what you meant by that, and just what you expect from Gaume and what fans of Hamilton can expect from Austin Gaume this season?
Yeah, well, Austin played for the junior national team, and
Yeah.
you know, he was at school now, and he broke his arm, broke his hand, or forearm, I guess it would be, and he's home. But he's one of those kids that he's got all the tools. His hands are smooth, his feet are quick. He plays the game at another level. He has that instinct that he just understands the flow of the game. He understands what pitchers are trying to do to him, so he's not overmatched. He doesn't try to do too much. He lets the game come to him, and that's a hard thing to teach a kid, to have that kind of baseball IQ. You know, so he's got those tools. He's got the arm strength. He can play all infield positions. You know, I think he just needs to start playing again. He missed most of last year. He was with the Terriers, and he missed most of the year. And I know there was some interest from some of the area scouts here of being one of the after draft signings kind of thing situation. He decided not to do it. So hopefully we can get him back here playing against men, learning, playing every day, and help him get to the next level. And he's got skills. His baseball IQ is just really strong. And talking to Dean DeCenzo, who was his coach with the Terriers, you know, they can't say enough about him. You know, and then when Austin's playing there, I got kids calling now. When Austin's playing there, great. You know, I want to play too. You know, so that's you know, a little you know, recruiting by not recruiting. You know what I mean? It just falls in your lap.
Right. What would be your advice to kids like Austin who maybe haven't been as lucky to sign and have missed out on that year or so of development? What would be your advice to those kids, those teenagers, however old they are?
Well, you know what? The kids that do the work on their own and are that committed, they'll still be there. They're going to improve. They found a way. They found a way. And Canadian kids always had to do that. If you're a Canadian kid wanting to play pro ball, you had to go the extra mile because it's snowing for 4 months of the year. You know what I mean? You just couldn't play baseball every day like a Florida kid did. So you had to do the other things. So you're starting to see that. The cream will always rise to the top. Those guys found a way to throw. They found a way to hit. They found a way to get in the gym. They found a way, you know, and if they're committed to it, nothing's changed. You know, they just haven't seen live pitching. And you know, they'll be fine. And that's my advice. If you want it, you got to work at it. No one's giving you nothing in this sport. So, you know, they know that. The college coach has been drilling that, and these guys come from the level. And you talk to any elite ball coach, there's two ball players, both skill level. The kid that's working harder is going to go further.
Yeah, now speaking of, you know, working hard and going further, how important is it? I just saw you also just signed Jordan Young, who graduated from the junior team up to the Cardinals roster. How important is it, do you think, to have a junior team like the one you have with the Cardinals to be able to develop that talent in-house?
Yeah, not every kid's going to make it, you know, from junior up to senior, but it's nice to have a handful of them that do. You know, we work out in a normal year. We work out with the junior team during the winter. When we rent our facility to we invite the junior team to join us. It's one way for Castelli and myself to put a name to a face, to see a kid. If coach comes up, you know, that's part of that, you know, thing. It's also you know, it's a way to build a team. It's a farm team basically, right? You have kids there. We're allowed call-ups. We're allowed, you know, 10 call-ups a year from the junior team. So we use that. You know, we use that for 5 kids, 6 kids every year. Wes Markle's an example of that. He threw 25 innings for us. He was on the junior call-up roster. You know, so Chris Lazar did it for many, many years as well. So it's not uncommon for something for me to do. It's a way for us to, you know, expand our roster a little bit, get some playing time, have kids learn at the IBL level. And then hopefully as they get older, they just fill into the roster and keep going.
Now, quickly here, Jeff, last question for you. As we look towards the upcoming season, what's the one thing about this team, this roster, this organization in 2021 that Cardinals fans can really look forward to and really should be excited about?
Well, Justin Gideon, let's be honest. He's an IBL All-Star. Great kid. Watching him play baseball, you can't not be excited. He does everything with a smile on his face, everything at 110%. There's a great video of him running into a fence in Burlington and almost running through the fence. That's the kind of effort he gets, and that goes with the rest of them. Jake Chiravelli and Lane Renault and Connor Bowie and the other veteran guys that we have. They play hard. And then the two new kids from the OUA, I want to give a shout out to Ryan Burnside and Jocelyn View, who are both going to be new guys behind the dish for us. They play hard, and they just love baseball. And, props up to those guys. And that's what you're going to get, an honest Hamilton effort.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Jeff. We really appreciate it. Great conversation, and good luck to the Cardinals this year.
Luck I'll take.
Take care, Jeff. Thanks so much. Well, that was another episode of IBL on Deck, another saga, I guess, another chronicle in our team-by-team series with the Hamilton Cardinals. Very exciting team, and as Jeff mentioned, lots to look forward to with that club this season. So, my name is Jackson Farough. Thank you for joining us today for the rest of the IBL and the IBL on Deck production crew. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time, everyone. Have a great evening.